don't hate your business. Maybe you hate the way you're running it. So fall has a funny way of exposing just how ridiculous our lives have become. School starts, sports start, practices start, games start, lunches, those need to magically appear every morning. Somebody needs a ride somewhere, and suddenly your calendar looks like it was attacked with a highlighter. September basically looks you directly in the eye and says, "Oh, you thought your life was all together." That is adorable. Because somewhere in the middle of all of this, you're supposed to work out, eat healthy, spend some quality time with your spouse, be emotionally available to your children, maintain any friendships you have left, get enough sleep, don't forget to drink water, practice that gratitude, and according to every wellness expert on Instagram, find some me time. Me time? At this point, going to Costco by myself feels like a wellness retreat. Oh, and apparently, kids still need lunch. Every single day. Who designed this system? Because somewhere around the third week of September, you are standing in the kitchen at 6:45 in the morning. You are trying to determine whether pretzels, a cheese stick, and something that may or may not be a granola bar constitutes a balanced meal. I'm going with yes. Oh yeah, then somebody can't find their shoes. Somebody still needs a ride. And somebody needs that form signed that they apparently have known about for 3 days. But you're learning about it as they're walking out the door. And somewhere in all of this, you're supposed to have 5 freaking minutes to yourself? Oh, and grow the business. Remember the business? The thing you once couldn't wait to work on? The thing that you were passionate about? You had ideas. You had energy. You couldn't wait to work on it. You were going to build something amazing, have flexibility, create freedom, and finally, you were going to be in control of your own time. That was cute too, by the way. Because now some days, your business feels like one more person standing in the kitchen asking you, "What's for dinner?" And this is usually the point where we decide the problem must be us. We need to become more productive. We need a better calendar. We need a better planner. We need to time block. We need to meal prep. We obviously need to get up at 5 a.m., develop a morning routine, organize our children, organize ourselves, delegate more, automate more, work smarter. Maybe listen to a productivity podcast while we're driving someone to soccer practice. Because heaven forbid we waste those 11 minutes. But I want to suggest something. Maybe you don't have a time management problem. Maybe you have a business design problem. Because if your business only works when you are working at maximum capacity, that's not really growth. That's dependency. And there's a really big difference. At some point, especially as our lives change, we have to stop asking, how can I possibly get all of this done? And we have to start asking, why am I still doing all of this? That is a very different question because a business, it evolves. Families evolve. We evolve. But sometimes we're still running our businesses exactly the way we did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago. But we've added clients, we've added employees, we've added services, Lord knows we've added technology, we've added responsibilities, but we've also added kids, aging parents, sports schedules, travel, volunteer, and a whole lot more. Life. But what did we remove? Usually nothing. We just kept piling things on. And then we're shocked when September arrives and suddenly the wheels start wobbling. So I want you to look at 3 things. And don't worry, none of them involve buying another planner. So number 1, what does your business still require from you that it shouldn't? What are you still touching every single day simply because you've always touched it? What decisions still have to come through you? What approvals? What administrative tasks? What emails? What client communication? What processes? What are you doing because somewhere along the way you decided it's just easier if I do it myself? You know what's really interesting about it's easier to do it myself? It's usually true for about 6 minutes. Then you spend the next 6 years doing it yourself. Maybe nobody else knows how to do it because you've never actually taught anyone. Maybe you haven't created the system. Maybe you haven't automated it. Or maybe you've simply decided nobody can do it as well as you can. And you know what? Maybe they can't. But here's the uncomfortable question. Do they actually need to? Because there's a big difference between something needing to be done well and something needing to be exactly the same way that you have done it and you would continue to do it. Those are not always the same thing. Think about that. Number 2, what are you protecting simply because it's the way you've always done it? This one can sting a little because sometimes we confuse familiarity with necessity. We've always had this meeting. We've always offered this service. We've always handled clients this way. I've always been the person who does that. Okay, but does it still make sense? The business that got you here isn't necessarily the business that's going to take you where you want to go next. Your life isn't the same. Your responsibilities aren't the same. Your goals may not even be the same. So why would we expect the exact same business model to keep working? And sometimes the thing standing between you and growth, it's not another strategy, it's not another app, and it's not another course. It probably isn't even another color-coded calendar because it's something you refuse to stop doing. That's sometimes where it lands. That brings me to number 3, though, and this is the big one. What if your life became a non-negotiable requirement of your business model? Think about that. Instead of constantly asking, how do I fit my life around my business? What if we flipped it? What if your business had to work around the life you're actually trying to build? What if time with your family wasn't whatever was left over? What if taking care of yourself wasn't the first appointment you canceled? What if you didn't need to earn me time by finishing everything else first? Because spoiler alert, everything else is never finished. There will always be another email, another client, another problem, another opportunity, another project, another person who suddenly needs something immediately that they somehow didn't need yesterday. Your business will take every minute you're willing to give it. So you have to decide how many minutes it actually gets. And maybe you've reached a point where you're thinking, I don't even know if I love this anymore. I hear that from business owners and I understand it. But before you decide that you've lost your passion, I want you to consider something. Maybe you don't hate your business. Maybe you hate the way you're running it. Maybe the passion isn't gone. Maybe it's buried underneath administrative work, unnecessary meetings, outdated processes, too many commitments, and approximately 847 emails. Maybe the answer isn't walking away from what you built. Maybe it's redesigning it. Because the goal isn't to get everything done, and the goal definitely isn't to become so incredibly efficient that you figure out how to cram even more into an already ridiculous life. Congratulations. You've optimized yourself into complete exhaustion. That's not the trophy we're looking for. The goal is to build a business that supports the person you've become and the life you're actually trying to live now. And here's what I want you to remember. When September inevitably slaps you in the face, when you're standing in that kitchen making lunches while answering an email, looking for someone's missing cleat, trying to remember whether tonight is soccer, football, gymnastics, or the meeting you completely forgot you agreed to attend, and wondering whether hiding in the pantry technically counts as me time, Don't immediately assume you need to get better at managing everything. Ask yourself a better question. What shouldn't I have to manage anymore? Because maybe you don't need another productivity hack. Maybe you don't need to work harder. Maybe you don't need to get up earlier. And for the love of all things of holy, maybe you don't need another planner. Maybe you need to look at the business you built and decide whether it still fits the life you're building. Because maybe passion isn't gone. Maybe it's just buried underneath everything you've convinced yourself you have to do. Dig it back out. Redesign what isn't working. And give yourself permission to build a business that doesn't just grow, but actually gives you a life you want to live. And remember, it's your choice to focus forward.